The empire he stole wasn't power. It was a trap. First, everything felt perfect. Money, influence, control. But every move he made was already planned. Watched. Controlled. He thought he was winning, until he realized he was exactly where they wanted him. And now, the people behind it all are coming to erase him. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. They don't care about money. They don't care about power. Pause. Heavy. They care about control. Daniel's eyes narrowed. And right now, the man stepped closer. You've made yourself their next target. Everything clicked. This was never about you and me, Daniel said quietly. The man nodded.
No.
It was about preparing you for them. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Once, twice. Then, darkness. Alarms exploded through the building. Loud.
Urgent.
Red lights flashed. Footsteps echoed outside. Shouts. Chaos. Daniel turned sharply. What is this? But the man? He didn't move. He just smiled. Calm. Almost relieved. They're here. A loud explosion shook the building. The door burst open. Armed men rushed past. Sir, we've been breached. Daniel's heart pounded. Not from fear, but from realization. This wasn't a warning anymore. This was war. The man turned to Daniel one last time. This is where you decide. His voice steady. Do you run? A pause. Or do you become what I created you to be? Daniel stood still. Between two choices, two paths, two futures. Outside, gunshots rang out. Closer now. Inside, silence. And then, Daniel took a step forward. Gunshots. Loud. Relentless. Getting closer. The walls shook as chaos swallowed the building. Men shouting. Footsteps running. Glass shattering. But inside that room, Daniel stood still. Do you run? Or do you become what I created you to be? The question echoed in his mind. Over and over again. Run or rise? Daniel slowly lifted his head. His eyes, different now. Not confused. Not angry. Decided. I don't run anymore. The man smiled. Not surprised. Almost proud. Good. Another explosion ripped through the hallway. The door behind them trembled violently. They're not here to scare you, the man said calmly. They're here to erase you. Daniel adjusted his sleeve, calm under pressure. Then they came too late. He turned toward the door, but paused. One question, Daniel said. The man raised an eyebrow. If all this was planned, Daniel's voice dropped slightly. Then why do I feel like I'm still missing something? For the first time, the man didn't answer immediately. And that silence said everything. Because you are, he finally replied. Boom! The door blasted open. Smoke flooded the room. Armed men stormed in. Precise. Fast. Ruthless. But Daniel didn't flinch. Because now, he could see it clearly. This wasn't just an attack. It was a test. The first man aimed. But before he could fire, Daniel moved. Fast. Controlled. Years of training, unleashed in seconds. He disarmed the attacker, turned, used his momentum. Everything was efficient, calculated. Not survival, execution. Within moments, the room fell silent again. Bodies on the ground, weapons scattered, smoke rising. Daniel stood in the center, breathing steady. The man behind him clapped slowly. Perfect. Daniel didn't turn. This is what you wanted, he said coldly. No, the man replied. This is what they wanted. Before Daniel could respond, a voice echoed through the speakers, distorted, calm. Impressive. The lights flickered again, then stabilized. Every screen in the room turned on at once. And then, a symbol appeared. Simple, but powerful. A circle, with a line through the center. Daniel's expression changed instantly, because he recognized it. "You've seen it before, haven't you?" the voice said. Daniel's mind flashed back. Fragments of memory, hidden files, encrypted data, things he was never meant to fully understand. "The organization," Daniel said slowly. The voice responded, "We don't call it that." A pause. "We call it control." Silence filled the room again. "What do you want?" Daniel asked. The answer came immediately. "You." A chill ran through the air. "You've disrupted systems that took decades to build. You've moved money that wasn't yours to move. You've stepped into a position." A pause. "That belongs to us." Daniel clenched his fist. "I don't belong to anyone." A soft chuckle echoed. "That's where you're wrong." Suddenly, one of the dead men on the floor moved. Daniel turned sharply. Too late. A device was activated. A pulse. Silent. Invisible. And then, pain. Daniel dropped to one knee. His vision blurred. His body felt heavy. "What did you do?" he growled. The voice responded calmly. "Just a reminder." Another pause. "That no matter how powerful you think you've become, you're still within our reach." Daniel struggled to stand, but his body resisted. The man behind him finally stepped forward, watching closely. Not helping, not interfering. Observing. "Get up, Daniel," he said quietly. "This is your real test." Daniel's hands tightened against the floor. Pain surged through him, but something else rose with it. Anger, clarity, defiance. Slowly, he stood up. The voice went silent for a moment. Then, "Interesting." The screens flickered again, and suddenly, a face appeared. Not hidden, not distorted. Clear, confident, and familiar. Daniel's eyes widened, because the face staring back at him was someone he thought he lost a long time ago. "Impossible," Daniel whispered. The person on the screen smiled. "Oh, Daniel." A pause. "You really thought I was gone?" Everything froze. Because this wasn't just an enemy. This was someone from his past. Someone connected to who he used to be before everything changed. And now, they were the one controlling everything. "Impossible." Daniel's voice barely came out. Because the face on the screen wasn't just familiar. It was personal. "Hello, Daniel." The room felt like it stopped breathing. Because staring back at him was the one person he never expected to see again. "Grace?" Her name left his lips slowly, carefully, like saying it too loud would break reality. Grace. The girl who once shared his hunger. The girl who believed in him when nobody else did. The girl who disappeared the same week he did. But now, she wasn't the same. Her eyes were colder, sharper, unafraid. "You look surprised," she said calmly. Daniel shook his head slightly, trying to process it. "You were gone," he said. "I looked for you." A faint smile appeared on her face. "I know." That answer, it didn't comfort him. It disturbed him. "You knew." Daniel stepped closer to the screen. "Every step," she replied. "Every move. Every decision." Daniel's chest tightened. "Then why didn't you show yourself?" Silence. Then, "Because you weren't ready." Those words hit harder than anything else. "Ready for what?" Daniel demanded. Grace leaned slightly forward, her voice lower now. "Ready to become who you are now." Daniel's mind raced. No, he said slowly. You're part of this. Grace didn't deny it. I'm not part of it, Daniel. A pause. I'm above it. The room went still. Even the man behind Daniel shifted slightly. Because that statement, it wasn't arrogance. It was truth. You control them? Daniel asked. Grace smiled again, but this time, there was no warmth in it. They think they're in control, she said. A pause. But they answer to me. Everything flipped. The organization, the attack, the test. It all led back to her. But why? Daniel's voice cracked slightly. Why do all this? Grace's expression softened. Just a little. Because we're the same, Daniel. He shook his head immediately.
No.
Yes, she said firmly. We were both nothing. We were both ignored. We were both invisible. Her voice hardened. And I refused to stay that way. Daniel's fists tightened. So you built all this? Grace didn't hesitate. I took control of it. A pause. And I've been watching you ever since. Daniel felt it now. Not just betrayal. Violation. Every step he thought was his own, was seen, measured, judged. You used me, he said quietly. Grace tilted her head slightly.
No.
A pause. I shaped you. That was worse. Much worse. Daniel turned away from the screen for a second, trying to steady himself. Because this wasn't just an enemy. This was someone who knew him, deeply. Why reveal yourself now? He asked. Grace leaned back, calm again. Because you've reached the final level. Silence. And what does that mean? Her answer came slowly, clearly. It means there's only one position left. Daniel turned back to the screen, eyes locked. And what position is that? Grace smiled. My equal. The words echoed. Not enemy, not target. Equal. You want me to join you? Daniel asked. Grace didn't blink. I want you to stand beside me. A pause. Or stand against me. The tension in the room exploded. Because this wasn't a fight anymore. It was a choice. Power or war. Daniel's voice dropped, cold. And if I refuse? Grace's expression didn't change. Then everything you built, a pause, falls. The screens flickered. Images appeared. Daniel's businesses, his accounts, his properties, all being targeted, all being erased. In real time. You don't control anything, Daniel, Grace said softly. I allowed you to think you did. Daniel's heart pounded. Because for the first time, he was losing. Not physically, but strategically. Tick-tock, Grace whispered. You have 1 minute. The room felt smaller, hotter, heavier. The man behind Daniel watched silently. Because even he didn't expect this. Choose, Grace said. Daniel closed his eyes. For a brief moment, everything went quiet. The past, the pain, the hunger, the betrayal. After confronting Grace, Daniel doesn't panic when she begins destroying his empire. Instead, he lets it happen. Because what she doesn't know is this. Daniel already built a hidden system, a shadow network designed for the exact moment everything collapses. While Grace believes she's winning, Daniel quietly activates this secret structure, shifting from defense to strategy. But then everything changes. Daniel receives a recorded message from Grace's past self, revealing a disturbing truth. They were not just trained, they were experimented on, turned into something beyond normal human limits, weapons. Before Daniel can process it fully, he's attacked, not by Grace, but by something far more dangerous, a highly advanced, emotionless group known only as the Origin. Unlike Grace's organization, these operatives are perfectly controlled, almost impossible to stop, designed for one purpose: elimination. For the first time, Daniel and Grace are forced to fight together, not out of trust, but survival. And during the battle, a terrifying truth is revealed. Daniel and Grace are not the final versions. They are incomplete. The Origin has something far worse, something more powerful. Before disappearing, the mysterious force delivers a message. You've exceeded expectations, but we're watching. Now the game has changed completely. Daniel and Grace are no longer rivals. They are targets. The world didn't collapse overnight. It shifted, quietly, slowly. Because for the first time, Daniel and Grace stopped fighting each other and started asking the right question. Who created the Origin? They went deeper than ever before. Into hidden servers, burned files, erased identities. And what they found was worse than power. It was control at the highest level. The Origin wasn't just an organization. It was a system, a network embedded into governments, corporations, global finance, invisible, untouchable. And at the center of it all was a single protocol, failsafe, created decades ago. If any subject became uncontrollable, they would be erased. Completely. That's what Daniel and Grace were. Subjects. Experiments that survived. And now, they had outgrown their creators. Which meant only one thing. They had to shut it down. Not fight it. End it. But there was a problem. The system couldn't be destroyed from outside. It required a core access key. And that key wasn't a device. It was a person. Silence. Because they both realized it at the same time. It's you, Grace said quietly. Daniel didn't respond. Because deep down, he already knew. From the beginning, he wasn't just part of the system. He was its final trigger. The one designed to either take control or destroy everything. The final scene. A hidden facility, far from everything. One terminal, one decision. Grace stood behind him. Once you do this, she said softly, there's no coming back. Daniel looked at the screen. Every system, every account, every hidden control mechanism. All connected. All waiting. He thought about the past. The hunger, the mockery, the pain. Then he thought about something else. Freedom. Not power. Not revenge. Freedom. I didn't come this far to replace them, Daniel said quietly. A pause. I came to end it. Grace closed her eyes, just for a second. Because for the first time, she believed him. Daniel placed his hand on the scanner. System activated. Warnings flashed. Irreversible sequence started. Around the world, systems began to fail. Hidden accounts vanished. Control networks collapsed. The Origin started to disappear. Panic spread through the unseen world. Because something impossible was happening. They were losing control. Back in the facility, alarms blared. System collapse in progress. Grace looked at Daniel. You're erasing everything. Daniel nodded slowly. No one should have this kind of control. The countdown began. 10, 9. But then, something unexpected happened. The system responded. Final condition required. Daniel froze. What does that mean? Grace asked. The screen changed, and the truth appeared. Core subject must be terminated to complete reset. Silence. Grace's eyes widened.
No.
Daniel didn't move. Because now, it made sense. From the beginning, he wasn't just the key. He was the cost. Grace stepped forward. There has to be another way. But Daniel shook his head. There isn't. For the first time, his voice softened. I was never meant to survive this. Tears filled Grace's eyes. You don't get to decide that. Daniel smiled slightly. Not sad. Not afraid. Peace. I already did. The countdown hit. 3, 2. Grace grabbed his arm. Daniel, don't. Silence. Total silence. Days later, the world felt normal. No hidden control.
No silent manipulation.
Just people. Living. Choosing. Free. And Grace? She stood alone on a quiet street. The same kind of street where everything once began. But this time, no power, no control. Just memory. She looked up slightly, as if expecting to see him. One last time. But he was gone. Not erased. Released. They mocked him for having nothing. But in the end, he was the only one strong enough to give everything away.